Welcome. My name is Christian Osborne, and I'll be conducting this webcast today on assembly management in relation to advanced warehousing on NAV 2013. So just moving to the next slide to cover the agenda. So the demo script of today will consist of three parts. The first part will cover dedicated assembly bins and an assembly order for an item set up to be assembled to stock. The second part will cover a sales order for an item to be assembled to order. And the final third part will cover the process of an undo shipment in relation to an item set up to be assembled to order. So on the right side you find a quick overview of the default assembly bins that are now available on the location card. So there are three bins, the first one being to assembly bin, which is related to the default bins from where components are to be consumed for assembly. The from assembly bin is where assembled items are normally placed by default when they are assembled to stock. And the final assembly to order shipment bin is only enabled for locations not set up to be direct put away and pick. So for example, inventory pick and put away. Now this demo script will cover a location wide, so direct put away pick. So we'll not be touching the third bin type. Okay, so now moving to NAV 2013 RTM version. So here on the warehouse menu, you have the assembly area here, but before going there, we just go to the administration and look up the locations. So we're just going to open white. And here you've got the assembly area, so the three assembly bins. So we're just going to specify the two assembly bin. So I created against location white, I created an additional zone called assembly, and against that zone I created two assembly bins. One I called assembly consumption and the other one assembly output. Additionally, this is a continuation of the first script, the first demo script on assembly as an introduction. Again here Kronos sells cables, which consists of connectors and a couple more components, and it's also going to use Linda as a resource. So for further information how to set up the script before executing this video, you'll find that in the documentation that goes along this video script. Okay, so I'm just going to specify the two dedicated bins here. Okay, so that's done. So moving now to the assembly menu here. Just going to open the assembly order and create a new one. We'll be creating an assembly order for a connector. Okay, so connector. We're going to assemble 20 connectors. And the moment we enter the quantity, the lines will be populated from the assembly BOM. That's which we set up against the connector. Okay, so here you find the components that are needed to build the connector, and on here, when needed on the fly, you can make any modifications. Now, the two columns that I recommend to add in relation to warehouse management is pick and quantity picked, because you can only execute an assembly order after the components have been picked. So I'm just going to do OK here. So we first need to pick these three components before we can post the assembly order. So we do a release. So normally you can go to the action tabs here and you can create a warehouse pick here. But for this demo script, I just wanted to highlight that it's also integrated with pick worksheet. So the first step is that we get the warehouse documents here, and you'll find here document type assemblies edit. So it's also integrated with this feature. So here you can see that we need, so we create a pick. I'll just do an OK there. And it's created, and we go to multiple handles, and we do a pick from here. So here you can see that the components will be taken from a pickable bin and they will be placed in the dedicated assembly 2 bin. Okay, so we do an outfill quantity to handle and we register the pick. Okay, so now moving back to my assembly order here, you see here that the components have now been picked, and when we post it, it will be put away on the posting tab here. So the output of the connector of that's being assembled will be put away in this default assembly from bin. Okay, so the system is now processing the consumption and output to produce and assemble the connector. Okay, so this concludes the first part of the demo. So now moving to the second part in relation to an item set up to be assembled to order. And so we're just going to create a new sales order. Let's do an OK. Create one there. We're going to use customer 60,000 because it's set up against location white. The customer phones up and they want cables, which we set up as assembly to order. We want 14 cables. Next you will get the assembly availability warning, which details that the requirement is 14. We're only able to assemble 10. We have actually 2 on inventory, but we're not going to use that. If you want to use that, you need to change the reserve field on the sales order line. And the reason that we're only able to assemble 10 is because of the connector. We need two connectors to make 1 cable, and we have assembled earlier 20, so that's the reason why we're only able to assemble 10 cables. We're just going to click yes. So the first step which we need to do is we need to create an additional assembly order for connectors. So one feature you can use is you go to warehousing, assembly menu, you open the order planning. That way you can create an additional assembly order. So we're just doing a calculate plan here. Okay, so the first step is that we filter on assembly demand. So here you find the connector again. So we need 8, 2 each for a cable, and then we can create an order here for assembly orders there. We'll do an OK. Okay, now going to my list of assembly orders. So we have 2. One is the 14 cables, which is linked to the sales order. And then we have now an additional 8 for connectors. So I'm just going to open this connectors. And the first step that I'm going to do is I'm not going to put away in this default assembly bin, but I'm going to use a pickable bin. So here you can differentiate and select where you want to put away the connector. And so the next step is that we release the order and we need to pick those components. Okay, so let's do a reverse pick. So you can do it also from here, and then we go to the pick worksheet here. We do the card, open the card. We do an outfill quantity to handle. So it's going to pick the items and then register the pick. Okay, now that's done. The final step is, of course, that we post the order. Okay, so now moving back to my sales order. If we then drill down on the quantity assembly to order, now you don't have the availability warning anymore against the connector because, yeah, we created additional connectors. Now, one additional step that we need to do is that the initial 20 connectors that we assembled at the first part of the demo script. They're actually now sitting in the assembly from bin. We cannot pick from that bin, so we first need to move those to a pickable bin, because the requirement is that you can only post an assembly order for a bin managed warehouse where you first pick those. So one way of executing this step is going to warehousing and using the movement worksheet. So you get bin contents. I'm just going to do the connector here. We need to move the 20 that we assembled initially, so I'm just going to delete the first line because we're not going to change that because that's already in a pickable bin. We do the pick bin and selecting the same as where the other 8 are stored. Okay, and then we create a movement. Okay, so the final step is we go here and we go picks. No, picks, movement of course. And we select the second one. Okay, and we do it again and output to handle, and we register the movement. Okay, so now moving back to my sales order again, opening the assembly order. So the final step, of course, is just like the prior, is we release the order and we create a warehouse pick. And then you navigate to the pick lines, and we do a card there. So here we're now moving 28 connectors, so they're all in the pickable bin, and we move them to the assembly 2 bin, from where they can be consumed. So we do an outfill quantity to handle and we register the pick. Okay, so now back to the assembly order. Now this is all ready, so we have everything picked. So this is ready to be processed. So because it's an item set as assembly to order, we're just going to close this and we're going to create from the sales order, we're going to create a warehouse shipment. Okay, we first need to release, of course, and then we can create a warehouse shipment. Okay, so we create it. And now on the quantity to ship, we can specify quantity of 14 to be shipped to the client. Now, before doing that, I just wanted to highlight, you can also see the warehouse shipment certain areas. So, for example, on the sales order line, you can see it in this assembly to order warehouse outstanding quantity. And also on the assembly order itself, you can also see that there is an outstanding sales shipment, warehouse sales shipment. And you can see that if you navigate and just on here. So assembly to order warehouse shipment lines, you can see also that there's quantity to ship outstanding. So just going to close the assembly order, go back to the sales order, and we navigate to the warehouse shipment lines, and we show warehouse document. So and now we can post the shipment. We're only going to post the shipment, not the invoice part, because the final part of the demo script is to undo the order, the shipment. Okay, so when I click OK, it will process the assembly output, it will process the consumptions, and then it will do the shipment part, so the shipment of the cable, and at the same time we'll do all the necessary warehouse movements. So after this is done, the final third part of the demo script is that, for example, the customer phones up and they want to cancel the order because we haven't invoiced it yet and the actual cables have not left the dock yet. We can then go to the, just like a normal sales order, we can go to the shipment, posted shipments. We can, if we added that, This works the same way as a normal sales order, so we have the undo shipment feature. If we click yes here, it will reverse out the sales shipment and also the related assembly output and consumptions. And what the message here tells is that the items from where they've been consumed, in this case the dedicated assembly bins, it will be placed there, so you need to manually put them away at a later stage. So I'm just going to click yes on this message. And then the final part of it is that I want to show, if we navigate now on the posted sales shipment. And we open the warehouse entries, so we show that. And I just want to highlight, so I'm just going to make some changes to the filtering. So first of all, I'm just going to change the entry types, the entry numbers right to the top. So bear with me just for a second. I'm just going to just going to set the filter so it's easy to follow what has happened. So clear, and then we filter on entry number. We just go to the final part here, and here you can see that, for example, the connector has been placed back in the original bin from where it was assembled. So here, for example, on this line, and here you can see that the connector has been placed back into the original assembly bin. So all the warehouse transactions will be placed back into where they initially was consumed from. Okay, so this concludes the demo script of today on assembly management in relation to advanced warehousing and the use of dedicated assembly bins. And thank you very much for your following this script. Many thanks. Bye.